Mr. Kelly is late.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly is late.
He's probably trying to find a parking space.
All right,
outside.
welcome to this meeting of the Milton Planning Board. Here we are on November 8th, and we're already having the 12th meeting of fiscal year 2013. And I'm Alex Whiteside, the chairman.
We have one meeting so far in November.
We're going to introduce ourselves before we don't want people to have a lot of unknown people talking.
Okay.
Alex Whiteside, the chairman.
Randy Lynch, member.
Emily Ennis, member.
Ed Duffy, member?
William Clark, planning director.
Keith Peterson, clerk.
All right. Now, you say that the next regularly scheduled meeting is not till December? Is that what you're saying?
That's what
December 6th.
He gave us a schedule that said December 6th.
Okay.
Shouldn't it be the 13th?
I think we were guessing at what we could and should put
I
down.
can't attend on the 6th, though.
Okay.
If we can go to the 13th, that would be great.
But that is
The
Long stretch.
22nd.
more than a month of nothing.
Now we see what it.
Beautiful. Not have nothing.
The 22nd is down here is Thanksgiving.
Yeah, exactly.
And if we had stuck to the schedule of 2nd and 4th, we'd hit Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yeah, we can't do that. I can't do the
Well, okay,
29th.
so what is the, what are you saying?
I'm not saying anything. I'm suggesting that you pick another date somewhere in there, since you're missing one is
So
probably
what,
good.
you
Missing
say
two.
the 13th is no good for you, big Christmas party?
No, the 6th is no good for
The
him.
6th, I can't do the 6th, though.
The
Okay.
29th is no good for me, the 13th is fine.
All right, so we'll do the 13th.
There you go.
December,
And if something comes up that we need another meeting, we'll
Okay.
figure it out. Bill will,
December 13th is set.
wait a second.
Right, all right, thank you. That helps me a lot. Thanks.
And then if we add 2 weeks, it's the 27th. When is Christmas?
Same date every year, I think.
It's Tuesday, right?
Yes, it's Tuesday.
So if we meet that Thursday, that wouldn't be bad.
Yeah, the 13th and the 27th would be when we would normally meet.
Yeah, I would think we could do the 27th.
Okay, that's, for me, that's okay right now.
Yeah, I can do it. For now, I can do the 27th.
If anyone has a problem with that,
Okay,
we're-
helps.
We're flexible here on the Milton Planning Board.
We are.
You're looking for the 13th and the 27th.
Okay, so that's done. Now, we have the minutes of October 18th, and we have a little, we have the yellow and the green.
I have a change to the yellow on page 3.
Have you seen the green?
I have not seen the green.
Well, you should see the green also.
That's yellow.
I understand, but the next page
Oh,
is
the
green.
next page is there. Oh, I see. I did not go far enough. Are these
The yellow
exclusive?
is Ed's proposal, and the green is Ms. Lynch's proposal.
I see. Interesting. Well, neither of them has the correction I was going to make, so I'll go ahead and do that right now. The first sentence of that paragraph on page 3 says, Member Ennis made a motion to approve the open space development special permit pursuant to open space development permit conditions. The next sentence, whatever we choose on the yellow versus green, should be Mr. Duffy seconded the motion.
Okay, that seems,
So that would take out part of each of those.
Well, the green says it was seconded.
Right, but we normally say who seconds it, so I'm just saying that it Who seconded it? Which was Ed.
On the first paragraph, given the fact that the Fandry estate still owns his property, I think that we could say,
First paragraph, which page?
page 2, I think we could say, Marion McKettrick, attorney for applicant Todd Hamilton, addressed the board. She stated that the driveway, which has been the key issue regarding this development, was created as an access to all the lots, including, and what I would say, including the back lots proposed for development, because Mr. Hamilton doesn't own any lots. He has got a purchase and sales agreement.
I think that's fair.
And so the next 2 lines later where it says, Mr. Hamilton should not be deprived of the use of his own driveway, say the owner. The owner should not be deprived of the use of his own driveway. And then when we get down to all the wonderful benefits, where there are commas separating the little,
You'd like
I'd
semicolons?
like semicolons.
I think semicolons is very reasonable. First paragraph, bottom 3 lines.
Right after the colon. It minimizes development, semicolon. It protects wetlands, semicolon.
Right.
The driveway design is safe, semicolon.
No, semicolon is not held in high regard by scholars.
I understand that, but
But it does have a certain
I know,
particular
I know it
use,
does.
yes.
It
and
has-
I think
Where
this
are
is
you
an
placing it? I'm
acceptable
not sure where
use.
you're placing it.
So where the commas
where
are.
the comments are.
Oh, at the end of each Footage Road, you want to call
No.
it.
So right here, where
Here.
it says following ways.
I get it, positive. Oh, okay.
These are my changes. Take a look at them.
Okay, there is one there, following ways.
So,
I see.
all right.
I did-
Semicolon out of the comma, right? That's what you're doing. Gotcha.
And I have a few stylistic items. They are stylistic, don't you think?
Yes.
Well, I think that they're more than stylistic, but they are not hugely material.
I think we should probably table these for another week, given that we have a difference of opinion on these yellow and green.
All right.
I'll see what I can come up with on those, because this is the
Let's,
first chance I
I
have to
think
look at
that, you
them.
know, the more,
Jean, I'll give these over to you,
Okay.
and I'll
okay.
hold on to yours.
The 25th, shall we table those two because they're so short and,
Yeah. It's probably- Although I didn't see anything
well,
out of line on the, did you?
well, I have some changes. We'll just, Jean, make the changes and then, and we'll try them again.
Okay.
Pass those down to Jean, please. And I'll get the other ones too this weekend, Jean.
Okay, now, let me find my agenda and, or let me use your
You can
agenda.
borrow my agenda.
Okay, we're at the citizen speak portion of our meeting, and during citizen speak, we encourage citizens to come and speak to us about matters of relevance to the planning board. And there will be another opportunity, but it's not going to be till December. All right, so we will expect well, we'll see what happens in
Right.
December. Now it's 6:45 on the button, and we have 36 to 50 Elliott Street. That's a project, an apartment project, and we are doing a site plan review of that. And we have Mr. Cochran, who is still buzzing about his success at the town meeting, hoping for a continued run of good luck.
With great appreciation for the efforts of the planning board with respect to that success of town meeting. Thank you. Ned Corcoran, attorney on behalf of the Sullivan family. I was hoping that we would have been ready to review with the board final design of the site, stormwater and drainage, but the process continues to move along between our engineers and the town's consulting engineer. It is a very complicated and expensive stormwater drainage system that's being developed. They discovered that the drain system that they were proposing to install was going to be substantially too expensive to install, and so they're proposing an alternative to tie and to run a drain pipe from the property down the sidewalk of Elliott Street and tie into the town's drain system before it runs into the Pine Tree Brook. And that's under final review with the consulting engineer, so we don't have the town engineer sign off on that. We're therefore not ready to suggest that the board is ready to approve the utility, the drainage plan that would go with the site plan approval. I did hand to members of the board, and I have another copy of an alternative design to the...
Why don't you give a copy, and we three will share it.
I didn't bring new copies from what I had
No, we
previously, but...
we got this at town meeting,
And so, at the last hearing, the board asked John Zikowitz to put pen to paper and to develop an alternative to what was then a fairly stark-looking set of balconies on the Elliott Street side of the property. Mr. Zikowitz did that. My clients and I met with him a few weeks ago. Our architects incorporated a significant portion of what he had proposed. I think it's a significant improvement. And so what we would propose is that the board review and accept this alternative as the new look to the Elliott Street facing of the property, and that we would then go forward and construct as shown once all approvals are in place.
no, yes.
If I can just ask the question I asked you at town meeting for the record, this proposal would still leave enough room for some landscaping along, between the building and the wall?
Yes.
That's correct? Okay.
Yes. There's still about 6 to 8 feet, varies length along the wall, but there's about 6 to 8 feet for landscaping along the wall. It does not propose any significant change to the landscape plan that was approved. This is shown as a rendering without landscape incorporated, but would not change the landscape design. We'd still have a very significant and handsome landscape.
Now, what of the, have you vetted this with the neighborhood group?
I have not vetted this with the neighborhood group. The neighborhood group has been much more substantially concerned with
The other side?
the other side as it faces the neighborhood. That has been resolved for some time. This has really been in response to
Right.
broader concerns of the treatment of the building as it faces Elliott Street, as it welcomes. It's the first thing you see as you're coming, for example, in from Dorchester around the corner off of Adams Street. You'll see this building, and this is a much more handsome approach. It sort of carries the idea, does two things. It connects more specifically with the Henry House and the beautiful porch, covered porch there. It captures that, and it carries the treatment for the entryway that was developed, and it carries that overhang treatment easterly towards Adams Street for a significant run of the building, and it really sets off from a level perspective the balconies. It separates them. Instead of looking like you just have sticks hanging off the building, I think it's a much more handsome and attractive approach. I know that Mr. Zikowitz is here to answer any questions you might have of him, but we're very appreciative of what he did and the time that he spent to help make this component of the building more attractive and more representative of what you might like to see if you're entering the town.
Now, do we have a materials list here?
I don't know that we do.
What?
I don't know that we do.
All right, so we're going to, we're interested in materials. Do we want I see that you've got muntins in the windows, which is good, at the top part of them. We like that. That was thoughtful of you. The casing treatment, of course, is important around the windows. We don't, would be nice if they could project a little bit, wouldn't it? Does it look like they project now?
Yes, it looks like they project slightly.
But I think that
Flush with
we
the-
can ask John what he thinks about that. That's what architects are for.
We do have, I don't know that we've submitted, I will do that before the next hearing. We do have developed a materials list, and we do have a materials board with some materials. We were prepared to present that at earlier meetings. Donnie Garrity, who's the project architect, has that. When we're back for the final hearing, we'll present that, and we would agree to obviously incorporate the final agreements, concepts on materials into the conditions for the
The
final.
materials would include the make of the windows. I mean, the windows are important here, and so it would be good to know. And of course, the entablature then within which they set is important. And it does seem to me that you should run this by the revitalization committee and the neighborhood group, just so that we don't have people coming to us. I mean, we can, in theory, I think, say this looks pretty good, without, you know, if we have angry villagers storming in here at the next meeting, we don't want to say, well, sorry, you've been concluded at the meeting on.
Sure. I will share this. I have this rendering, and I can share this electronically with the neighbors, and I'm happy to schedule a meeting, a presentation with the revitalization committee that, you know, we can schedule that with John and his committee.
Question?
Ned, the second floor front porches, is the first floor roof a continuation of the front porches? If you look carefully, the people that have their front porches on the second floor can just step over that rail and walk on that whole roof like it's an attractive nuisance.
It's a rail.
Isn't it sloped?
We can
though?
electrify the roof.
No, I was just going to suggest that. Electrify the rail, not the roof.
Electrify the rail, yeah.
They electrify the roof, they won't have to worry about snow.
Well, I suppose that's right.
That's right.
It looks as though the roof were sloped. I think the pitch might make it tricky to walk across.
It would make it very tricky for
Yeah,
a kid.
I
that-
don't.
We could,
Might make it attractive.
we can always put there has to be a rule against stay off the roof.
Right. Big-
No
big
towels, no
laddering.
laundry, no walking on the roof.
You could put little spikes up through the shingles.
Nick, could you
I
drop
think it's an
off a few
attractive
more
nuisance.
copies of that in the town hall next time?
Okay, now what else do you have for us? And then we're going to hear from John.
I don't have anything else for the board at this time. The last issue that I think remains to be resolved is the stormwater management. And as soon as we do that we need to do that in two places. We do that obviously with the town engineer, so that it can be incorporated into site plan approval. And then because the building property lies within 200 feet of the river, we also need an order of conditions from the Conservation Commission, and we are scheduled to be before them next Tuesday. If we are through the process with the town engineer, then we'll be able to present on Tuesday, otherwise we'll have to continue until their next meeting. But those are that, I think, is the one remaining issue of any significance before the board. I did submit, and I will resubmit, a draft set of conditions and descriptions of some things like the preservation of the stone wall when it's removed and replaced, or some things that the board wanted me to specifically call out as conditions to site plan approval. I did that. Those would be in addition to the conditions that were approved and attached to the variance decision, which was approved by the Board of Appeals. So those are obviously, as attachments to the variance, must be complied with conditions and enforceable. And the additional conditions for site plan approval would be also enforceable through the site plan enforcement process. But the combination of those two things, I think, makes it a very tight and effective set of project controls.
Now, as I look at this, there is sort of, on the left, you see the little peak of the roof, and there's a little square in there, which I assume is where you're going to put some of your rooftop utilities, is that right?
Yes, it will be
Okay,
set
and
below.
And it's going to be, we'd like to sort of know how that's, how deep it's going to be, and whether or not you're going to be able to see these things sticking up.
In earlier plans that were submitted, we do have a roof plan, and I think there are elevations. Let me just check those.
Elevations, particularly from the Belden Hill part. I mean, obviously, the people in the Hill House are going to get a nice view of these things.
Yeah, I think they're the only people who are going to get a
Well,
nice
that's
view
right.
of them.
If that's the case, then that's,
Yeah, no,
Is this the Whiteside tub issue?
well,
it's the bathtub.
this is the 2 Adam Street issue where,
Whiteside bathtub issue.
where
Yeah,
I was surprised to learn there was a bathtub going on top of the building.
It looks like it's approximately 8 feet.
8 feet deep?
Yeah.
Wow. You think that's true?
Yeah.
Really?
Swims.
Yeah.
It's, which I would suggest is certainly adequate.
I would think 8 feet is adequate. Yeah.
Ned, would you ask your client if he would entertain on the roof something such as a weather vane?
Sure, as an architectural feature.
Yeah, so maybe 15 feet high, something like that. Quality for the vane. I think it'd be stunning.
Where would
I would
you-
go right up to it like that.
Where would you put it?
Right here. Is the center. Here.
But you would have to look at the
I don't know if it-
variances to see.
Yeah, I don't know that that would work, Ed, because
Well,
there's
we'd
no
have to
sort of
evaluate
center
whether that type of a
entry
structure
that it
would
would
be
work
This is
on.
the center.
allowable as a
Yeah, but see,
separate
that doesn't really
issue
work. I
tonight.
think it would confuse people, so, you know, that's the entry
I think-
there.
All right,
If you
well,
put a very
evaluate
narrow,
it.
confuse
It's a
people.
really busy group.
It is a
Right,
busy
well,
road.
they'll evaluate it, which will be good.
Could put the
All right.
price 350 at symbol.
Now, John, do you want to come and join us and give us some, introduce yourself and your credentials to the viewing audience, those who don't know you?
Good evening. I'm John Zickwitz Jr. I'm co-chair of the Milton Village Central Avenue Revitalization Committee, and I am in my profession is an architect.
All right, have you seen this latest
Yes,
iteration?
Yes, I have.
What do you think?
I was very pleased that that the Sullivans, when I met with them and showed them some sketches, that they were pleased with what I showed them. They were responsive, and obviously they've worked with their architect in incorporating a good majority of the ideas in that.
The porches work much better.
I
The
believe
last ones looked like they could be peeled off without any adverse effect.
yeah, they looked pretty stuck on before, but now this gives them a base to sit on, and I think it plays off Joanna Henry's house with the front porch. Creates a little more presence along the street without increasing any of the depth of the porches, just gives them a little more emphasis. And also now, it also gives it the illusion of a step back as you go up vertically too. So now you kind of come up and that steps back to the main facade of the building, whereas before you just had that one flat wall. So I think it'll help from that dimension. From a pedestrian level on the sidewalk, you'll see more of that front porch element, and you won't see that flat wall going up. It won't seem as massive. And I still think there's plenty of room there for landscaping, because the depth didn't change at all. We just put a roof on it and connected them to give it a little more unified base. So I'm very pleased with what they've done. I think it's a big improvement.
And we hope that you stay with us as we get into materials, because they're going to be important.
Okay. Be happy to.
Good. Ed?
Can I nominate John for the Unsung Hero Award once again?
The Planning Board's Unsung Hero Award, nominations are open for that, and we will accept that nomination.
Good work, John.
Thank you.
All right.
It's twice in projects that I've been involved in.
That's right.
You should give me your award.
No question.
All right. So you'll have, you're going to show us the landscaping. It'll probably be, well, you're going to show us the landscaping. And we'll take a look at that. And what else? And then we'll get I think that about does it.
Materials list and board,
And the
landscaping.
materials list, and the wall is, you might, just reiterate what the wall is going to be, whether you've changed it at all from our last discussion.
I have not, and what I've done, and I will resend, is a description of the work that would be done for the wall, preserving the granite, replacing it as best we can.
And did we, on the back wall, did we have any unfinished business there?
No, I think we agreed that we would, again, to the extent we could, reuse and replace the granite on the back wall and fill in as
With-
appropriate with new granite, with new
Okay,
block.
well, as long as that is around somewhere in one of those conditions that you've listed. Yes.
Ned, is that or John too, to me it looks like it might be a cement block wall.
The wall is rendered.
Along Elliott Street.
It's really just, I think it's just the best effort using this technology to show the
Yeah,
wall.
they're so regimented, the rectangles.
It's
Yeah, I think it's
probably-
just a computer,
It's
just
a
a computer
computer.
rendering.
It'll be a standard, stone wall in there, and they put it in there, and it'll just be the standard way the computer does it. They didn't draw the blocks individually by hand. They
But
can
it's going to
glue it
be
up sometimes.
similar to the wall that's there now.
Yeah, and I think the board's request was that we preserve and replace the existing block to the extent that it was
Mhm.
possible.
Existing stone.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that
And
it
there were-
is,
There were a couple of other things that we had talked about, and I laid out in that, and that was sidewalk treatments and period lighting and things like that.
yeah, well, the lighting is absent here too. I mean, you'll fill in you'll fill in this side. You've done the other side, and you'll do the same thing for this side.
Right, we'll have the final landscape plan included lighting plan,
Okay, yes.
and,
Just- I'm sorry, one other question. How are you going to control the water on that first floor roof? If downspouts coming down?
I would would think you'd have to have a gutter system and
Obviously,
some
yeah.
downspouts, yes.
But, and where will the water go?
Grass, plantings.
Or if necessary, tied
Into
into
the-
the.
Into the ground or
Stormwater.
tied to
It's a
stormwater.
lot of
system.
surface, so
Mhm.
it's got to accommodate a lot of water, okay?
Yeah, we've got to handle all of the
Upper floors too.
all of the water coming off the roof,
Right.
all of the roofs.
So that's part of the drainage deal?
Part of the drainage deal.
But you should, I mean, now that you bring it up, if there's going to be a gutter system, we want to have an appropriate gutter system.
Copper.
Copper would be nice, Ned. And keep it shined.
By the
Well,
time
they
they
have
finish,
im-
they'll have to go around and start
They have
again. Be
imitation
like
copper
painting the Brooklyn
systems.
I was not
Bridge.
joking there.
No, but they do, they have imitation copper gutters that are very realistic that you could,
It probably would be a nice touch.
it would.
All right. Any other? Anything else, Ed?
No.
For now? All right,
Continued to the 13th?
continue to, it's December 13th.
Does that work?
Yes, that works. You know, I think realistically, December 11th, Conservation Commission, December 13th, Planning Board, they're not in a position to, they won't be constructing until the spring. They may start demolishing the old two families over the winter, but realistically, we've got until April before we can really do too much of substance out there, and that, they've got to secure the building permits, finish the construction drawings and documents, and get, you know, that material reviewed and approved by the building commissioner, so.
Yeah,
we'll be fine.
the plans are, another question?
Yeah, just one other question. Ned, on these side units, the top balconies have no roof on it, so the water's gonna splash into those sliding glass doors.
I'm
And
sure
it's-
there's a plan in place to make sure that it doesn't splash into the units, and it'll be managed and maintained.
You've got roofs on the front porches, but not on these two side porches.
No, I think the idea was to really treat the Elliott Street side, because that's long and it's in your face as you're standing or walking up and down Elliott Street. The balconies on the two sides of the buildings were left more or less as previously designed.
All right.
So 6:45 again on the 13th?
6:45, Bill,
Yes.
on the 13th. All right. Thanks for
Thank you.
coming in.
Thank you.
My
Now-
Today. I just wanted to give you a heads up that I'll be unable to attend this evening's planning board hearing due to a scheduling conflict. Ned Corcoran will be in attendance to represent us. We think the landowner will work with us on a new timeline, and we hope further educating town meeting members about the benefits of our project will lead to them supporting an amended bylaw.
Okay, well, as I suggested to you, I suggested you pull up Jason to find out what their thoughts were. And one thing, Ned, that we want to get their thoughts on is affordability, and whether or not it makes sense to try and, or how to structure affordability for low or moderate income people, which I would assume most people in assisted living would be low or moderate income, just because that's 80% of median income for single people. In any event, find out if you can, what sort of provision can be made for affordable housing. There is, as I recall, when I was at DHCD, we had all kinds of issues about how you would get assisted living to qualify for the subsidized housing list. And it may be that, well, see what, if it can be done, obviously that would be good, but as I recall, it was pretty tricky, yes.
Ned, I was contacted by a town meeting member today, actually, who wanted to help out, help the planning board out with any further look at assisted living. Should I send this person in your direction? Wait until you guys come back? How would you like to?
Let's see, I've just been retained by the Grailia Group
Okay,
to help assist in moving this, hopefully moving the bylaw back through so it has an opportunity to pass, whether at a special town meeting this winter or in the annual town meeting this spring. They have, there is some time pressure with respect to their agreement with the current owner. Presumably there's a reasonable opportunity that can be extended at least to cover the annual town meeting if there's a pretty, if we are reasonably successful in advancing the process through the hearing process. And I'm all ears to issues, concerns. I didn't pay a lot of attention to it because I had enough other things on my plate leading into town meeting. And so specific issues that may have been raised, I need to obviously understand and get into and work with the proponent and the board to try and find appropriate ways to resolve them to the extent that we can. So if there's someone who's got specific interest, issues, suggestions, I'd love to
great. I'll also
talk to them, meet
respond
with
and
them,
point them in your direction then.
and see how we can advance it.
Okay.
I observed, I left the hall, the meeting, to walk out with my client after the vote on the last one. When I came back in, people were debating the motion to refer it to study.
Right.
So I missed some of the debate, and I wrote down the tally of the votes, took it to study, but in any event, I look forward to working with the board on this one.
All right, well, we need to do it by the end of December. And the
Yeah, I think that would work for us.
affordability is the crux of the problem. The other things they said it's too specific. It's easy to say no more than 2 floors. You just put in the no more than. I mean, it can be generalized up very easily. But affordability is, I think, the major issue.
And I was told the day of town meeting, so I didn't have a chance to research it, by somebody who had experience with it, that some towns have either have either removed assisted living from the town's affordability provisions, or actually rescinding affordability provisions associated with assisted living. What I don't know is why, because I didn't have time to research it. So that might be worth finding out. Have other towns tried this and had problems? And if so, what were the problems, and are they easy to solve? I mean, one possibility might be dividing up the rent from the services and looking at the affordability on the rent, understanding that services are what they are. But the fact that other towns seem to have been going through this and having difficulties is something you might want to have a look at,
Right.
because we'll need to be able to answer that if somebody brings it up.
That's the problem, that you have your rent. It can be an affordable rent, but you've got to pay for
Exactly.
the services as
and-
well. And
yeah.
so that you're going to be paying more than you would just pay for an apartment.
Right,
And,
so how do you work those
how
out?
do you do it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we look forward to solving this in a good way. And let me know if you have any thoughts between now and December 13th. And
I will speak with the client, tomorrow or early next week, explore in more detail. I need to know much more about what they do, how they do it, why they do it the way they do it, how they've done it in other places, how that's transferable if at all, here, and understand more about what was being discussed. I think I understand generally the notion of more general language versus more specific language. And I obviously understand this board's preference to draw more specific language, because at the end of the day, I think that most of zoning now is spot zoning. Most of Massachusetts, particularly eastern Massachusetts, is pretty mature in its zoning. Towns are fairly maturely zoned, and the opportunities to sort of broadly change zones is not as great as it may have been previously. And so you're ending up often either trying to identify parcels that you can zone for particular uses because you'd like to attract them in, or you're reacting to the market as it's coming and adjusting, and when you're reacting, you're trying to make sure that what's coming gets handled in a way that's not going to overburden the town's resources. So I think in that regard, finding a balance from general versus specific is one issue. Obviously, understanding more about the affordability issue. I know that there are more general concerns about that town-wide, and so how to manage that is important. So I will work with them. Certainly be ready to discuss it on the 13th, and if not before, Alex, I'll reach out to you, and we'll see what we can
Okay,
arrive at. Okay?
excellent.
Great, thank you.
Now, 685 Brush Hill Road.
Moving right along. He's here. Good evening, Ned Corcoran. I'm here with Jerry Rankin, who is the developer and the president of RNG Development, which is the proponent for the redevelopment under a subdivision plan of the Boyle Estate, 683, 685 Brush Hill Road here in Milton. Mr. Rankin has the property under agreement. Purchase is conditioned upon his ability to secure final site plan approval. We were here in July.
And a definitive subdivision approval also.
Yes, and we're here for an application for approval of definitive subdivision plan. This evening, we were before the board in, I think in June, late June, with the temporary, the preliminary subdivision approval. Board, I think, generally liked what was presented. The discussion was positive, and was recommended that we return with an application for definitive subdivision approval, which we filed, and we're prepared to present and discuss with the board. I'm also joined by Jim DeSalle from DeSalle Burke Associates, who is the project engineer and who has prepared the definitive subdivision plan, and I would ask him to give an overview, and then we can discuss.
So we might, I guess I should mention that this is a public hearing, which we have opened on an application for a definitive subdivision at 683, 685 Brush Hill Road. And the matter has been duly advertised, right, Mr. Clark?
Yes.
And,
Duly advertised and noticed to the abutters.
and notice to the abutters. And we're here to have the developer describe the plan and hear from the public. Okay, and to take questions.
Hi, my name is Jim DeSalle from DeSalle Burke and Associates. We prepared the subdivision plan, and it's the same subdivision that was before you under a previous developer, Corvo Construction, about a year or so ago. And I believe we were pretty close to the end, if not at the end at that time. with the definitive subdivision. So what we actually did was resubmitted with, you know, virtually no changes to the request for waivers and the design that had gone through months of development with the neighbors and the board. We have a list of waiver requests that are listed in the application package that we submitted. The big waiver requests are the design speeds, the curves, the handicap ramps, the centerline grade. We're requesting about 12% as opposed to the 8% that was the maximum. The cross sections, the curving, sidewalks. We're gonna do sidewalks on one side, and you can see up, you know, we're gonna come in this direction here on the right-hand side of the road, and then cut across and go to the left-hand side of the road. The street shade trees and the fire alarm system. The fire alarm box, I'm not sure if they're even necessary anymore because of the advent of cellular phones, and I believe everyone has one. And street lighting. And I believe we went into a lot of discussions at the last definitive subdivision proposal. And 90% of these requirements are to preserve the trees and to preserve the nature of the topography of the land. So we're before you again with the virtually the same subdivision. There were no changes. And actually, it hasn't changed. We're still proposing a dead-end line.
Right. Last time there was a loop in the water line. This time it will be 8-inch line to the top with a hydrant at the top for blow-off.
And I see all the waivers are listed. I think this is, this decision looks familiar.
You want to see the changes? I think it's on the front page, and it's the name and the developer. That's pretty much it.
And I did submit, for the board's review, a draft of a proposed subdivision approval decision, which ought to look familiar because it was taken from a pretty final draft of the previous approval. I've attached to that a draft of the declaration of trust with declaration of easements, and a draft tree management and buffer preservation plan, which was submitted by Tim Kernan of Brush Hill Road, who's a neighbor butter, particularly focusing on the nature, the preservation of plantings and buffers on the buffer that is on the Brush Hill Road side, and then around the exterior of the property, the buffer between each of the lots and the abutting properties to the outside of the subdivision. The neighbors had made one request, which we have been unable to respond to, and that was that the driveway, Beechwood Lane, as it would be called, would be skewed as it matches up with, or intersects with Brush Hill Road. We met with the fire chief, very concerned about the nature of a cutback, switchback, and the combination of the switchback and the topography being difficult for a large fire apparatus or other emergency apparatus to respond to, so that it is strong urging. We have retained this as a 90-degree intersection. It really matches up with the other intersections nearby. They're all at 90 degrees as well. So, other than, and in addition, we would have a small bus stop area for place to, because Brush Hill Road is so narrow, for kids to safely wait for a bus, if a bus is coming along and picking up kids who are living in this neighborhood and heading off to Tucker School or Pierce Middle School. So with those, we were unable to accommodate the request that we would either skew the driveway or eliminate the bus stop. But with the exception of that,
I think the bus stop goes on the other side.
Yes.
All right.
So, with those exceptions, I think we've responded as much as we can to neighbor issues and concerns. I know that the neighbors on the northerly side, the DeVegvars, the Dohertys are very concerned about closing off this right of access here. We've reached a tentative agreement with them that we would terminate those easements. There's certainly no need, once Brush Hill, Beechwood Lane is constructed, there's no need for either for Lot 8 to have backdoor egress to Brush Hill Lane, and so we would terminate the easement, the right of passage over those driveways.
Do we, how does that work? In other words, that's, do you have any sort of agreement to do that?
I have a draft of an agreement that was provided to me by, I have not shared it with the board, but there is an extinguishment of easement agreement that was drafted by Mr. DeVegvar's attorney and shared with me. There's a reference in the planning board decision itself that addresses the issue of the extinguishment of that right-of-way.
Yeah, as I remember, we said it has to be extinguished, don't we?
You do, and we're certainly,
The discharge of driveway right-of-way.
right.
Okay. All right, so that issue has been covered. What else? I mean, this is the same plan that we spent months on a year ago.
And I know
Okay.
that Mr. Rankin is very appreciative of all of the time that this board spent with the prior proponent.
Well, we were disappointed when, the developer walked away from it. We're going to hear from Mr. Kernan now, and then anyone else who wants to be heard from.
I can stand up.
You have to be
I've got
heard,
to be in front of the microphone. Okay.
but you can stand if you like.
Well, I'll take an opportunity to sit. A couple of things. The buffer zone management wording that I submitted, and thank you for including it, thank you, Gary, for including it, was intended to provide more of a guideline for the association, the resulting association that will be assuming management for the property. The current covenants left that wide open for the association to do. And we felt, because the neighborhood association was very concerned about the impact, the visual impact of the development from Brush Hill Road, we felt that a more comprehensive set of guidelines would be more helpful. And I appreciate the fact that they were accepted so, and I certainly offer them to the board if they want to use them in the future going forward. A couple of things. One is, it seems to me that both the walkway and the bus stop are going to be maintenance issues going forward, and there may not be a real need for them. I know that's been discussed, but could you just review for us what those construction materials will be?
Construction materials, it hasn't been finalized, to be honest. I'm waiting on the decision to see whether it's actually necessary. I've talked to Bill Clark on it. I've also talked to the fire chief as far as, first of all, the term. The fire chief was adamant about not changing it from a safety point of view. And secondly...
You might as well come up and be heard. You can stand and hold the microphone.
And secondly, it was from a point of view of safety for children. I talked to Bill regarding the bus stop, and I won't say he was adamant, but it was just the walkways and the bus stop for the kids. And I have three young children, so I can see it. I can see the point of view, yeah, and I don't have a problem with it. I can also see the point of view of the association that's already there, and there may not be kids in the neighbourhood at the moment, but neighbourhoods do change over time, and it's an issue that may not be needed for, could be 10 years, but in 10 years it will be needed, because neighbourhoods do change. So It's an added expense to me to put in more materials there or put in an area for it. So for it not to be in, it's less cost to me. But for me to put it in, it's not an issue for me to put it in. I'd rather it be safe for the kids in the area, to be honest. If there is, there's there's 5 new houses, 5 lot subdivision, so the chances are there will be kids in the neighbourhood. The walkway, there's an up and down about the walkways on the side where again, it's a cost issue, but when you look at the big picture, right now at the moment, maybe it's not needed, but in 5 or 10 years' time, when a new family's in there, it will be. So I don't, we've sat down with the neighbourhood, I've met with them, and I think they're the only 2 issues that the buffer zone. We don't have any problems with all the management of that. No issues with that. It's just the only 2 issues with the association is the bus stop and the driveway, which I don't think we can make that. I can make that decision. So.
My point in raising the question is that I think both the sidewalk and the bus stop area present a maintenance nightmare. If they're not going to be used, they're going to degrade. If they're concrete or asphalt, in 3, 4, 5, 6 years, they're all going to fall apart and they're going to become an eyesore in that section. If they're town-owned structures, the town's going to have to maintain them, at least the school bus stop, if it's right next to the road. I don't have an objection with the sidewalk so much as what we're trying to do is preserve the quality of view going up the driveway. And if the sidewalk can be put in such a way that you don't really see it, I don't have a problem with it. But again, I think if it's not made with the right material, it's going to become a nightmare.
Yeah.
If it's all concrete and et cetera, in 10 years, it's all going to be bubbling up and no good. So I leave that with you, but I would ask the board to seriously consider the school bus stop, which I just think is not necessary. Regarding...
Why don't you think it's necessary?
I think that the opening there is wide enough so there's plenty of room for kids to wait. There's not going to be a lot of traffic coming up and down the road, the driveway, and there's no other bus stop like it along Brush Hill Road. So it's filling a need that, sure, it may exist, it may be a great safety idea, but there's no other structure like it along Brush Hill Road, so the precedent is that it's not needed. And I'm just thinking that over time, if it's going to become a maintenance nightmare, it's just going to become an ugly mess.
The only thing that it can be addressed in the management, the same like the buffer management, it can be addressed in the association fees, that there's a fee attached in the maintenance of the road and the maintenance that it has to be. I mean, that fee can be put into an escrow account maybe with the DPW, and the DPW, they attach onto that fee to maintain that if the DPW wanted to do that. I'm not suggesting more work for the DPW, but I'm just saying that if that was a concern on the maintenance of it, then we can address that in the management. So,
But being that there's no other structure like it on Brush Hill Road, I just don't see the need for it in the beginning. And plus, given the width of the roadway, there's plenty of space for people to stand off on the side and get out of the traffic, particularly if it's plowed right. Because if you look at the driveway, going up the driveway, on the right-hand side, there's plenty of grass area between the stone wall and the roadway. So I think that's...
Well, now, who wants this?
We're just suggesting that it's...
I mean, who suggested that this be put in? You don't know?
I don't know.
All right, Mr. Clark, what do you have to say about this?
I would say that you want to keep the walkway in there. What you have is a road that's steeper than normally permitted. You've got it narrower than normally permitted. You have transitional curves so that you can save the trees that are in there. You put a sidewalk in that starts at the top, comes down, crosses halfway down, goes to the other side. Because of the flattened out areas, because of the new roadway. What people are referring to as the bus stop area is just an area that is cleared that is set back off of Brush Hill Road. Just because Brush Hill Road presently doesn't have sidewalks doesn't mean that people don't walk on Brush Hill Road. And if you walk on Brush Hill Road, you don't like to walk on Brush Hill Road. It's not a fun street to walk on. As Mr. Rankin said, this is something that's going to have kids at it. People don't build this kind of a house and not have children there. You put in the sidewalks and they will be used. Leave them to the street and you subject it to whoever's coming up or down. This is a road, this isn't a driveway. There are 6 driveways off of this road. It is a private road, but still, it is a road. There are 6 individual driveways off of it.
All right, Emily.
So the bus stop, you're suggesting this isn't a structure, it's simply a cleared and paved area, correct?
Doesn't even have to be paved, it can be a
Okay.
grassed area.
All right.
It probably is the grass area on top of the drainage. You have a very large drainage area to the right-hand side of that road that they have to take and bring that hill down 6 to 8 feet at least. So it can be on that particular area.
Except that as we reviewed the plan, that was, you and I looked at that, there's a slope on that, so that's probably not a good place for it.
That they can take and make something that it gets them back off of the intersection, off of both roads. It would be more in line, right, it'd be more in line with where the existing wall is now and bringing it back.
And you're actually just looking for a flat area, you're not looking for
Right.
a
That's
paved
that's
area or
perfect.
anything
That's
like
fine.
that. So
That's
it's just gonna be
perfect.
grass.
That's perfect. That's perfect. That's perfect.
The sidewalk is coming down
It's a place to stand.
to the
Yeah.
street,
Okay.
right. The
That's fine.
sidewalk will come down to Brush Hill Road, but
That's fine. The last point that I would like to raise, and I know we've all been around it 1,000 times, I don't want to drag it out tonight, but I want to leave it as possibly an option in your decision this evening. And that is the structure of the entrance coming in off Brush Hill Road. I believe we're 90% the way there. I don't want to suggest to this board that we're in drastic opposition to the plan that's present. We're 90% the way there. What I would like to do is well, let me give you a little history. We met with the developers and asked their engineers to get back to us about some possibilities for altering the structure of the driveway at the beginning of the entrance. They did not do that. I did hear from Mr. Corcoran that they did approach the fire chief, and you heard the results of that conversation. I did speak to the fire chief last week. I showed him a copy of the stone wall. I showed him what it looked like. I explained to him what we were interested in doing. He was interested in working with us. He didn't flatly say no. He said he would be willing to work with us on something. Now, that may result in no change, and I'm fine with that. I would just like to have the opportunity to see if there's a way we can do 2 things. I realize we're playing a game here a little bit. We're trying to be a little Clinton-esque, and we're also trying to be Escher. Clinton-esque in the sense that we're trying to redefine the definition of a 90-degree angle as something other than a 90-degree angle. And Escher in the sense that we're trying to make it not look like a 90-degree angle. So all we're trying to do is play a little optical illusion here. Is there a way that, with manipulation of the wall and the asphalt, we can provide the fire chief with what he needs, yet make it look something other than a straight chunk of asphalt with a 90-degree on it? And I would just ask that the planning board allow for the fact that if the engineers and the developer and us can come up with a creative option, that they would allow that to be considered going forward.
Mr. Clark.
I have had the same discussion with the fire chief and the DPW director. And because of the issue of the narrow entrance, the meandering road, you could potentially take and move that 90-degree to a somewhat greater angle, but it does mean that you have to put more asphalt into the driveway, into the roadway apron, in order to make that turn. You're taking a 42-foot truck and making that turn, and it's not 90 degrees, it's greater than 90 degrees that you're bringing it back around. They need to be able to go up further. When they come back out of that, they have the same issue. So you can put down more pavement and give you the illusion that you're looking for, or you can go 90 degrees and have less pavement. the whole idea here is you have a road that has a bend in it right after this property, and that bend goes uphill. So when you come to the bottom of this hill, you just came off of a hill to this road. You don't want to slide out into the street. You want to see what's coming in both directions. The DPW director did say that they could go and do new site distances for that intersection. It's not a foregone conclusion, but it would mean that you would have a bigger apron on the street. So does that make it look like you have a bigger road than you really do?
Yeah, and that's all I think we're trying to get an opportunity to look at, is just follow that through a little bit. And it may be that the option we have now on the table is the best one.
I mean, it's less pavement doing this
Right.
versus the other one. To take and skew that to the side, you need more pavement to make
Right,
that come
right,
out.
Right. So I think all we're suggesting is there may be some room for minor tweaks in the design to accomplish possibly, hopefully, a little bit better design that meets everybody's requirements. And I think that's all we're asking for, is that
I
little
think
wiggle
if you're
room.
trying to hide it, though,
Make it worse.
You're gonna make
I
it.
think more
make it
pavement
worse,
doesn't
won't
hide
it?
it.
It may be.
Right now, it would look like a driveway.
I would just like to be able to see that.
How long has this been on the table? I mean, has this just come up tonight?
No, this has been up, when we met after the meeting in June, we met in August or something like
Yeah,
that.
it was mentioned, we had a meeting in the library, and we went over some of the issues, we went over all the issues. This is probably the only issue. I addressed the fire chief, I talked to Bill on it, and,
No, it isn't as though this is something new that you want to go
No.
out and explore. You have explored it.
It's not, I mean, the driveway or the road does not make, it's a 5-lot subdivision, so for me to add more onto it to cut the 90-degree down, it's not an issue with me as a developer. It doesn't, if I can make the association, for the sake of putting a little bit of an angle on it, make everybody happy, great. But does that angle work with the fire chief? Is that, from a safety point of view, is it, and that's the question, and I did address it with him, and he said to me, no, we don't want to change.
At the August meeting, I asked to participate in that conversation, and I was not notified of it. So all I'm doing is asking the planning board if there's an opportunity for us to just revisit that driveway subsequent to your approval, and if we can come back with a request to make this tweak or that tweak. That all we're asking for is that door can be left open. We may not take advantage of it, because after looking at it,
I don't have a
maybe.
problem with the door being left open for the drive, that's something that we can, if we have the approval, and the approval
Right.
was there, subject to that, and we can
I
tweak
mean,
that
the
out.
question obviously was, do we wait till December 13th so you can go out and
Well, you could
discuss this?
You could make Mr. Corcoran's night a good night tonight.
If I get to come back.
I think from our point of view, we just as soon see everything go forward, and unless the planning board is adamant about waiting, my suggestion would be if we can, if you could.
It would be a non-material change if it
Right.
was, we would treat it as a non-material change if you came back in December and
Right.
said that you wanted to do this. I just, it did seem to me that everything is in order here. I think everything is in order here, and the developer has indicated that that you should go talk to the fire chief.
We did, and we'll continue to.
Okay, I don't know how it's gonna work, and Mr. Clark, you can, okay.
Maybe you can work out some sketches of how it would look. Not full engineering studies, but this is how much asphalt with a 90-degree, this is how much asphalt with the type of angle the chief would need to get in. We can have a look at them.
All right, who else wants to be heard? Yes, Ed.
I just wonder what the status of Mr. Anviani is.
I think Mr. Andriani would have agreed that we would incorporate driveway access for his property. and that he would participate at a smaller percentage in the cost of maintaining the roadway. He certainly, he benefits from the driveway, he should participate in the cost of maintaining the roadway itself, but he's got separate water and sewer connection, so he doesn't need to participate fully in all the costs. So I think
He's aware of all this letter too.
Okay, who else wants to be heard?
Henry Carr, I live right across the street with my mother on Bushel Road. I just want to definitely make clear about the bus stop. When I think of bus stop, I think MBTA with the roof and the ads for Cosmopolitan, and I just want to make sure that we're not going to, because that's something that's just totally out of character of the neighborhood. If, as you're saying, if you just have a little grassy area,
Just a flat area.
I don't see how that's much difference than just, I mean, that already exists, just a place for kids to stand. So I just wanted to make sure that we're not talking about something like an MBTA
Plastic
bus stop.
enclosure.
Yeah, that's what I really am opposed to.
Well, I would think that, that you don't have a design, but we have been, you know, I don't see why they would want to construct anything more than they have to. I would think they might want to have a good base to it. In other words, I can see that they might want to put stone in and perhaps have it a gravel spot just because of mud.
But we're not talking about a physical,
But
three-dimensional
not a
structure.
physical
over-
Right, that's what
yes.
I'm really
Yeah.
concerned with.
Yeah.
Nice lean to.
Question for you. Jim,
Yep.
Is the bus a school bus or is it an MBTA bus?
School bus. It's for the kids to wait for the bus to go to school.
A school bus. Do we identify on the street where the stop is? Is there a post or a sign there?
It's like anywhere else in the town, when a school bus comes up to an area where they're gonna stop. It's, the reason that I guess they want an area, they're looking for a flat area where the kids can stand that's off the road and off Brush Hill Road. So it's typical, like if they were pulling up down, you know, Milton Hill Road or Forbes Road, they're gonna pull up to where all the kids are congregating. And it's not gonna have like a sign or anything like that. It's the school bus is gonna pull up where all the kids are and turn the hazards on and open the door and let them walk in. The school bus area that they're talking about is just a flat area where the kids can stay that's not in the road. As opposed to typically, right now, they'd be standing in the road where they could technically get hit or whatever.
Is it in the taking of the road or is it?
It's within
in
the
private
layout of the
property?
road, but it's just like, it'd be right at the edge of the sidewalk. It's just a flat area that if there's 6 kids there, they can stay off the road.
Town land.
Well, actually, it would be on the private road.
The doctors,
No.
No, it's
The
all.
doctor-
private road, okay.
It'd be in this area right here,
Okay.
which is the road layout, but not in the pavement. So it's in the Beechwood Lane
You have a
layout,
road, a sidewalk, and you've got a little area to the side.
a flat area where the kids can stay off the, so they're not in the street.
who maintains it?
It's the association, because
Okay.
it'd be all part of the, you know, where they maintain the grass there.
So on the plan, it's gonna be delineated, this is where the thing is?
Yep.
Oh, just,
It's delineated now, isn't it?
It's actually not, because we were trying to figure out what exactly they would,
All right.
we weren't sure exactly what
So
the
this
bus
is
stop
going to
was.
be something, once again, I'd just as soon have this addressed by the 13th, but not delay
We'll delineate an area.
approval of the plan as sort of a non-material change.
would it be delineated on the blacktop, like lines on a road,
It's not going to be.
No, it'd be
blacktop.
off the road.
off the road?
Yeah.
So they'd be
Assuming
stepping
it'll
on
be on the
grass.
backside of the
What?
sidewalk
Are you
there.
Grass
saying
will
we're
get
going to
you.
approve it tonight?
And it's actually, it's probably gonna be right on top,
I'm
there'll be a flat
assuming
area there
that,
anyway
but,
where
I-
the leaching pits are. So it'll be just on top of
I
that.
didn't know if there was a time deadline.
It's just an area where they can
No,
congregate
I
safely
don't
and it's
think
not
so.
like on a steep hill.
Well, it might be. Do we have a time deadline on this?
In other
Well-
words, do you need it approved tonight, or?
They want it approved tonight.
Mr. Whiting pushing you for a date?
Uh,
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, he is pushing me for a date, but essentially there's no work gonna be done, to be honest, until actually January
yeah.
or February of the thing,
Yeah.
so I wanna get it done, but I want everybody to be happy and, to move on.
So waiting to the 13th, you don't mind coming back?
No, we don't want coming back till the 13th.
I was just thinking it'd be easier
All
if we
right.
have the delineations right in front of us, we can sign everything
And then we
back.
we can have some specifications on what it will be.
Okay.
And talk to Tim about,
The driveway.
about this. And then, Ned, we need, the homeowners have to maintain this.
Correct, yeah.
Modifications.
Right, modify that too. And what was the other thing that we were talking about?
Driveway opening, school children's place.
Wasn't there another thing that, what was your other issue, Tim?
The third issue was the sidewalk.
Sidewalk.
Oh, well, the sidewalk going down, isn't the sidewalk shown there yet?
Yes.
Yeah.
They don't want it.
Oh,
I was just gonna suggest,
okay, well, we need a sidewalk going down there.
I mean, you
I
could choose
think-
which side you want it on, but I think you need the
It's
sidewalk.
Put it on both, make it
No,
easier.
but what I'm saying,
It splits.
no, I know that, but I'm saying, do they want the sidewalk to start on this side or start on
Well,
that
it
side?
has to
and
go
start on
down
other
to
one?
the
But either
area.
way,
You
it
want
has to
it, you
start.
want it on the right because they want the vegetation on the left-hand side to stay just the way it is.
Okay,
And it's
then
gotta be
perfect.
on the same side where the bottom of the side, with where the
Right,
School buses.
school bus.
So then,
okay,
it is the way
And then we
it
push it over
is.
here to keep it away from the tree.
Exactly,
okay.
I remember that.
What is the board's preference on just that bus stop area? Is it grass, or is it like crushed stone,
I would,
or is it cobblestone? I mean,
Crushed stone works just great.
I would think crushed stone would be right, but, we can hear from Mr. Kernan about mud.
Just to revert to our previous conversation, I think we had agreed earlier that it could be grass.
Well, I don't think we agreed on anything. We said it could be grass,
Well, we did.
but wouldn't grass, when it was wet, turn into mud?
Right,
Not-
and
Not to
wouldn't,
mention wear, I mean, if kids are standing on it, the grass is gonna wear out, it's
right.
gonna look horrendous.
Yet gravel's gonna have the same problem. Might I suggest that you could get an impervious, there's a paving block that is
Yeah.
concrete that allows grass to come up, and you're just looking for something solid to make
Yeah.
a decent footing, yet
is
So-
cobblestone like a 8x8 cobblestone or 6x6 cobblestone?
He wants it to look
I just
as,
don't want to see a structure. I mean, the whole road is just, doesn't have structures like that on it.
Okay.
To the extent we can avoid a visible structure like that, that would be great. And this pervious stone, I don't know what you call it.
I know what you're talking about. Do you know that it's like little, concrete cells? They're not always made of concrete. You
Yeah.
put the loam in it and then the grass grows on
Yes,
top of
okay.
that.
Right.
Yeah,
So
that would
something-
actually work out reasonably well,
Right,
as a matter of
right.
fact. Because you don't, once the grass grows, you don't see
You don't see it.
the
All right. I-
underlying structure
I
and it's
think that
firm
that
enough. Yeah, I
sounds,
think it
right.
works.
That's
Sounds like a go.
Just-
That's tough on,
Children,
yeah.
what do you mean?
They're not
Well,
wearing
you have to
shoes.
maintain, you have to maintain the grass at a certain level on those. And if it is a bus stop,
How high do you have to maintain the
well,
grass?
you've got, the cells are all filled.
Right.
It's not a smooth surface to be walking on. It's,
They use it for driveways.
use it for
so-
driveway because you can drive on it.
Right, but it's not smooth
But now
enough for
walk
walking.
on it.
All right.
Try it with your heels sometime.
I'm hoping those
Do it.
kids aren't wearing
I'm wearing
heels.
Parents may be.
I could be high school,
They won't
Well,
want to
maybe we
see
can
it.
have
My
a,
daughter was wearing going off to high school today.
maybe we can find some other minimal visual material that can be used that would be soft enough for the kids. We can have a look around.
Regarding your decision, my 2 cents, just so I understand where we were before, I have no objection with your approving it tonight, and would certainly encourage you to do so for the developer's sake, and only ask that, it seems that regarding December 13th, you were looking for a clarification on this bus stop, but might we be able to allow the material change that we might arrive at for the driveway entrance to extend beyond that December 13th. My only thought is getting the fire chief may be tough, getting people together between now and Thanksgiving, et cetera, might be tough. And I know that the developer probably isn't going to start any construction until later on in the spring, so there might be some time. Certainly don't want to push it out so it becomes forgotten, but just for the sake of moving this thing forward, these seem like minor issues, and to the extent that they could be followed up with a material request to you would be.
Well,
Yeah.
it is a month.
We're talking December 13th.
December 13th, that's a month.
Goes fast.
Well, and then Christmas occurs, and so there's another month.
When do you pass papers?
Well, the procedure, I'm not 100% sure on the exact procedure from the board's point of view. On December 13th, do you approve it then, and then you have to sign it on, let's say, December 27th?
We sign it on the 13th and file it.
File
And
it
then
on the day.
and then after the appeal period ends, we sign the plan.
Okay, so you're looking at December 13th and 20 days, roughly 22 days maybe, somewhere around there. Yeah, I mean, that's...
It gets you to
It
January.
gives you to
Yeah, and
January,
we
is that
still
enough?
have, we still have to, even after it's
Then you have
signed
to
and filed, we
close.
still have to go to land court anyway, so, you know, that's still involved, and that's probably gonna take us till the end of, middle of January anyway, so.
Well, let's do this on December 13th, but let's have you do your best, and you have a month to see if you want to yes,
Why is this
Bill.
going back to land court?
it has to be.
Subdivision has to be approved.
Subdivision has to go to land court,
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. So once it's accepted, it has to go to land court then,
Doesn't have to go to public hearing.
but it just has to be
Right, it has to be
recorded.
filed.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
right.
But if this plan is going to be changed with a different entrance, then we need it to be changed. It seems to me that we can't drag this out forever.
Well, we can just, December 13th, I will.
Work
sit
with,
Bill
Yeah.
and I will set up an appointment, and Bill can, whatever's convenient with Bill and fire chief.
And
We
Tim,
can make ourselves available,
okay.
and just iron it out before December 13th.
Okay.
That'd be great, because it'd be cleaner if we could get all the potential changes made and agreed to on the 13th. Sign it off then, we're done, you're done, and you can move forward, rather than having you come back and make a change and then make another change.
Okay,
So that would work.
Yeah.
7:15? 7:15, Bill?
7:15.
so the,
Anything else?
so the only two issues are the driveway or road with the fire chief, and the stop, the forest, the bus
Yeah.
stop area.
Yeah.
They're the only two issues, everything else is acceptable.
It looks
Yeah.
good. And, you know, a little bit of drafting work here. Make sure that this is tied in with what Tim did properly. I'll take a look at that. Who else wants to be heard on this? All right, we will continue the hearing until December 13th at 7:15?
7:15.
Okay, I think this is the best way to do it, rather than talk about changing the approved plan within a month.
Yeah,
Okay,
just easier.
but we don't want any new issues.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, 86 Walcott.
Paul.
Hey, Emily. Good evening. My name is Paul Sullivan.
Mike, welcome. Take a look at the tape at the beginning of that last hearing, so that on the 13th you can participate.
You'll have to write a letter certifying that you've seen it under whatever the MGL is. Bill can help you out with that.
All right. Identify yourself for the viewing audience. I should have said that we are once again taping this meeting.
And live, we're being live broadcast.
And we're being broadcast live, so continue.
Good evening. My name is Paul Sullivan. I'm here as the applicant for 86 Walcott, a two-lot subdivision. It's a continuation of a public hearing. There was several issues that came up at the last hearing. One of them was the second part of the private lane, the 150 feet straight line measurement. We extended the paved area to incorporate the 150 feet. There's been a couple other changes that were just done very recently. We decided to eliminate the telephone poles. We're going to do all underground utilities.
Much better.
What about streetlights?
We put in the, we created a homeowners association trust that we submitted recently for review. Part of it does call out for the homeowners to have lights at the end of their driveway, right at the lane. We also clarified the water main issue. We are showing a 6-inch water main with a hydrant that is approximately 300 feet in on the lane on the north side. And the house at Lot 2 will have a new water service, so both homes have new water services. We're also showing they're calling up the street trees, which I don't think were in the previous plan. So we're no longer looking to request a waiver on the electric underground, since we are doing an underground service. We did locate there was a hydrant on the private lane that is the driveway to 1035 Brush Hill Road now, but we will still add a new hydrant on the property.
So you still have the waiver for the underground services on this most recent plan? You're going to take that off?
Yeah, the engineer was rushing and he didn't, he missed a few things that I suggested he incorporate into the plan.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, he's got to put a spot for the planning board to sign the plan also,
Might be useful.
That's helpful, yeah.
so that would be useful, yeah. So, Bill, what do you think?
I actually talked to the owner about the 6-inch line coming in. I talked to the DPW director about the same line. They actually did tests out there to verify that there is plenty of pressure for the 6-inch line that does put in for the fire hydrant, which the fire chief liked. The moving the poles was and undergrounding it was a no-brainer versus restringing the other poles. It looks good.
It does look good.
Yeah.
It's, It really is, I mean, it's a subdivision and it accomplishes, it allows division of this land without a significant impact on its character and neighborhood. So I think this looks good. What else do we, you've reviewed it, Bill.
I think, I wasn't sure if it was on the previous plan, there was some discussion about the easement for the sewer, but it is called out on this plan.
One thing you haven't done, Mr. Chairman, is have a site walk. And I can say I'm not familiar with this property at all. I don't think it's necessary, but sometimes we do a site walk.
We sometimes do. It's usually where there's a question in our minds as to whether it's
Not the time of year for the weather for a site walk at the
yeah,
moment.
today would not have been a
Yeah.
good day to meet
I mean,
them.
I'm just being nosy. I've never been in there before.
Well,
Mr.
What-
Duffy, you show up, I'll take you up there.
Okay, if you want.
all right.
The one good thing about, if you do try to do a site walk, is previously from Walcott Street, it was almost impassable to get through where Lot 1 is called out now. But the gas service just got reconnected to the existing house, so they cleared a path back to Lot 2, so it's easy to walk in from Walcott now.
All right, well, Bill, you can, anyone else want to look at the site? Okay, Ed, you're the,
You can report back to
you
us,
can,
Ed.
what, you're not a formal subcommittee, so you don't have to post yourself.
Okay.
All right, I think, Paul, it looks to me like we're in business here. Bill,
I'm sorry.
it looks to me like we're in business here.
It does. It looks to me like you are in business.
And what I'm going to do, Paul, and I didn't do it before, is I am going to read the Declaration of Trust.
Sure.
And if I have any thoughts, I will communicate them with Mr. Clark, who will communicate them with you.
Excellent.
And anyone else who has the desire to read this Declaration of Trust should feel free to do so
Pass our comments along.
and pass the comments along. It might be nice, well, you can pass them to Mr. Clark.
Okay.
I have 2 copies. Is someone missing one?
I could use another one, thanks. Okay, we're going to continue this until
45?
7:45 on,
The agenda for the 13th is starting to look remarkably familiar.
on the 13th, okay,
I had a question.
yes,
By then, you'll be ready to sign that night too?
Yeah.
yes.
So you're gonna get a plan with,
Well, no, we don't sign the plan until the appeal period
Appeal
is
period is over.
ended, so,
but
but
you'll,
in any event, having the Mylar, getting the, having us know what we're approving.
Sure.
And
I.e.
so we'll
have the
do,
mistakes
we'll have
removed.
a little,
Aye.
document
Right.
approving it, you know, subject and attaching the Declaration of Trust. You might, if you've got names
Well,
to
the
fill
name's
in,
fine, I'm
you
sure.
can
Fill it
do that, yeah.
you're gonna review this too to make sure everything that you want is on there before he makes a Mylar.
If you,
That's a good
Mylar,
idea.
Mylar costs them big bucks. So before he makes a Mylar, I mean, I tell people all the time when they come in for an A&R, do not give me a Mylar. If you give me a Mylar, this board has a really bad habit of kicking it out and having something put on it. So I tell them all the time, no Mylars. So when you see somebody show up at the Mylar, it's somebody that just,
All right, well, what we want to do is, we want this notation, general notes,
We need the waivers that are no longer applicable.
we want the declaration, yeah, take out the things, and we want a statement saying this subdivision is subject to a declaration of trust, and then recorded herewith.
The trust gets recorded with the plan.
Recorded, yeah, but the plan will recite this is subject to a declaration, and then you will give the name of this trust, and then you say recorded herewith.
Actually, I don't think I have a copy of the trust.
What?
I don't have a copy of the trust.
Oh, well, I have two.
Oh, well, then I'll take one of yours.
oh, look at number 5,
Fine, your copy.
That's it.
under your waivers.
Yeah, he didn't correct it.
Okay.
All right,
Continued to 7:45?
right,
Excellent.
now,
Great,
Thank you.
Thank you.
now we've got 333 Hillside Street, where we have gotten a signed covenant.
We have?
Yes.
Excellent.
Has everyone gotten the signed covenant, Bill?
No.
No. You
I got a signed
did,
covenant.
you did, but I think it was because I think I sent it to the board, but I sent it to you first so that you could do the perusal. I haven't even had time to look at it.
Okay.
I came in yesterday, so I
Okay.
don't have
Okay,
up or down.
now, we have a signed covenant, and to me, that indicates that Mr. Galagly, and everyone probably wonders who Mr. Galagly is, but he is a lawyer who has been working on this, this trust, trying to make it agreeable to everyone with an interest. And do we have we got pay dirt here, Bill?
No,
What?
no. So I don't have his plan,
All right.
his
All right,
easement.
just, we don't appear, someone is unhappy?
No, I haven't had a chance to review it.
Okay, we don't know if we've got
Right.
pay dirt.
I got it yesterday and I have not had
All
a
right.
chance to.
So we will find out if we've got pay dirt, because if we don't, I still have authority to
I thought it was.
sign a decision.
I thought it was, I'm making comment back to you, and you have to make comment back to the board over what you perceive as right or wrong with the easement language.
All right, now, and this is my understanding. I have been given authority to
Yes.
approve this subdivision, subject to the covenant, which I'll attach to the,
Yes.
and if this covenant, this signed covenant, is, we don't have any major issues outstanding, that's what I intend to do.
Yes.
Okay?
Question.
Yes.
If we gave you this authority, I'm assuming we closed the public hearing in
We
order to
did.
give you set of authority. So
Right.
we just need to adjust our agenda so it no longer says that it's a continued public hearing.
I guess that's right. The
That is
public
correct.
hearing is, but we have, now we're under a timeline.
Yes.
So how
But
close?
it's still 100 and, or still 95 days from
95,
filing?
Yep.
And when was filing?
August 22nd,
And
somewhere
so
around there.
How are we doing? We're getting close, aren't we?
We're getting close.
Yeah.
Well, we've closed it. The only thing we're waiting on is that easement, and
But
they've
it
given us
sounds like,
time.
to me, like I've got to sign this thing and file it before our next meeting.
I'll have to check those numbers in the morning.
Yeah, I think you're getting very close.
It's
30,
95, it's
31.
90 days or 95 days and 135? I should remember.
There are 9.
We've done this,
We've done this before, and I
we
forget.
did litigate this
We're
matter
gonna know this
once.
again.
Wait a minute, I can look at the,
You
Plus,
the law.
we're about 78 days away from when it was filed, so,
Okay,
We
so
have-
we've got, say we've got 12 days.
yeah.
All right. I'll review it and I will file the decision that I've been authorized to file approving the plan subject to the covenant probably next week.
Excellent.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah.
anything else?
Well, the master plan,
I'm going to let Bill speak to that because he took everybody around on a tour yesterday, but sadly I had a client meeting and was unable to attend.
all right.
so-
Now, Bill, this segues beautifully into your report.
Okey-doke. Master plan. I took the master plan, or a component of the master plan committee, for a tour of the town's major properties yesterday for future discussion at their meetings. Only took us 2.5 hours, but we did look.
It was about the length of my meeting.
It actually was really eye-opening, I think, for most of us that went. Master plan, we meet,
The 27th.
thank you, November 27th is our next meeting, so onward. I've been dealing with wind turbine legal issues. I've been dealing with
We read about the wind turbine legal issues.
The Times.
I've been dealing with the 131 demolition issues. One suit has been filed by the building's owner because of the building commissioner decision. There is also an appeal to the invitation to bid by Mr. Conley's contractor. So we have a hearing in front of the Attorney General on that next Thursday. In the meantime, some of the panels have blown off
Was
the roof.
Mr.
and-
Conley's contractor disqualified for bidding?
No, he bid. He was one of the 4 bidders. He was not the low bidder, but his bid was accepted.
Was it Thursday or Wednesday? Thursday or Wednesday?
Next Thursday, the 14th, whatever the 14th is, we have a hearing in front of the Attorney General.
Ashburton Place?
I'm sorry,
Ashburton
Yes.
Place, is it?
somewhere there, I don't know.
Wednesday is the 14th.
Okay, we'll go Wednesday at 11 o'clock. Green Communities Grant, I'm doing the year-end final report. I've been doing the subdivision reviews with the fire department, DPW, for Kinsale, 333 Hillside, 683, 685 Brush Hill. The home project on Walcott Road, it's federal money that came into the town. It's a project that a lot of people have a misconception on. It is a home for severely handicapped individuals. This is not a halfway house. It's not in any way related to a halfway house. This is a home for physically handicapped individuals, severely handicapped individuals that want to live on their own, that cannot live completely by themselves. It's a 5-bedroom house that has, it's worth 1.4 million. So it's not taking down houses in the neighborhood. It's helping prop those up.
Question, Bill, is the housing authority, is it similar to the couple of houses the housing authority has? One on Blue Hall Ave, one on Central Ave?
They may be similar to those, but it's
No,
not.
but I mean, who's the,
No, Work Inc.
oh, One King. okay.
Work Inc. is, they own it,
Wow.
they maintain it, they
On
run
the
the whole
tax
thing.
rolls?
It is not on the tax roll, but we have 5 subsidized housing inventory units because of that
Because of-
building.
Great,
Each bedroom's considered a unit.
a unit.
Channel 4 came to Milton and interviewed Mr. Hurley, interviewed Paul Maduri from Fitness Unlimited, and me to discuss the East Milton deck and how the use it or lose it money pulled away $830,000 worth of money. That'll hit the news in another week and a half or so. Been dealing with a couple of stone wall issues out on Adams Street. Adams Street is a scenic road, but they will not have to file because one goes under the wall and the second one is a brick wall that's on private property. So it's not in the public land. And the last piece is 36 Central's affordable units are in the final stages of review by DHCD, Department of Housing and Community Development. I envision that they should be ready in December for advertising.
Great.
Just one other thing, my famous 17 Canton Ave, the DeWolf building, it's
I actually
high.
went by it yesterday and we
It's high.
did make comment to it and we didn't think the roof was that high, but I did ask Mr. Prondak to take a look at it and he is going to, he just hasn't given me.
It's certainly higher than the house that was there.
I can't answer that question.
I can.
Okay.
All right, now, what other questions do we have for the town planner? I had a question and it totally escaped me. I don't recall what it was. Oh, yeah, how is the tree warden doing with his Hillside Street decision?
He made a suggestion to the homeowner for for tree replacement, and he gave him that number. I haven't heard that the homeowners wanted to move the thing forward, but I also
Well, I
haven't
think
seen
they
him cut
do,
down any
because there's a
trees.
pile of
I think they want to do it, but I don't think they've made the payments because they haven't spread that pile yet.
they can't spread the pile because they need approval to spread the pile.
Right. But I know that is what is holding it up, is what the tree warden presented as an option.
All right, well, find out what
It's in
they,
his court.
well, I understand, but you can call and say you are the facilitator, the town's facilitator, and you're here to facilitate that, project, if you like.
I need
Okay,
another job.
now-
I have two quick questions.
We have a couple more questions for you.
These are on two old projects that have come before us, and I'm just wondering whether or not you know the status, or, the first would be 2 Adams Street, if there's been any change on that.
No.
Okay, and the second is, you remember the brownfields we were doing on Truman Highway? The guys came back to us about a year ago and said, we'd like to revisit this, and then they disappeared. Any idea what's happening with that?
I would suggest you ask Mr. Sullivan.
I could ask Mr. Sullivan. He
Sure.
might not want to answer tonight, but it'd be interesting to know what's going on.
Yeah, at some point you can give us a report as to what you're thinking about down there.
Let's move it on. I think they will be coming in to speak to you soon.
Okay, great. Thank you. Appreciate that. That's all I
Okay,
have.
well, that was a good question.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right,
Chairman, I move the adjourn.
Second.
all in favor? Aye.